Hey everyone, it's Lexie. So in today's video I'll be sharing with you all the books that I ended up reading in the month of April. So April was a crazy month for me in terms of school-wise. I have my last exam on May 5th and then I'll be free for a little bit, and I feel like I've been studying 5-6 hours a week, or 5-6 hours a day, 6 times a week, and it's just gotten to the point where I feel like I'm burning out. So reading has very much been my outlet in terms of just decompressing from school and everything. So definitely once my exams are done I'll be reading a lot more, so I'm really excited about that. I think it will be good. I just need to get past May 5th and then it'll be smooth sailing. So I read 5 books this month, which I'm very pleased about. I feel like I've gotten back into my reading rhythm because I felt like I was a bit of in a reading slump kind of in February and March. So I'm happy I've kind of gotten back into that rhythm. And I feel like the books that I read this month were kind of all over the place in terms of genre and just what I felt about them. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. So starting out the month, I first read the Tales and Teacups book club picks for the months of March and April, and oh boy did I have a lot to say about this one. And it was American Dirt by Janine Cummins, and when I chose this book for my book in the month pick, I wasn't aware of the controversy surrounding that, and as I was aware of it, but I didn't look that much into it. And then I started reading this and I was like, oh my god. And then so I looked, I was like 20 pages in and I could already pick up on some of the things in here, and I looked at Goodreads, and yeah, so I found this book to be very problematic. You can go check out my review. I kind of go into more of the details surrounding this, and I go into more detail kind of around the things that were problematic, which there were many, and I felt like it was just like a 7-minute rant from me. But yeah, so needless to say, I wasn't the biggest fan of this book. I gave it a 1 out of 5 stars. I thought the writing was very bad, it was repetitive, it felt like a soap opera, and it was just very kind of racist and problematic in many ways. So basically the premise of this story is that it deals with this middle-class family, and the entire family is killed by kind of the cartel, and the only survivors from this attack are the mother and her son, and so they try to illegally immigrate to the United States, and this follows their story. But I thought it would be really interesting, but nope, I hated this book. And you can go check out my review. I don't really want to talk about this because I feel like you just need to go check out my review, because this video would be like 20 minutes long, but go check that out. It's very problematic. I know a few of you read this and really enjoyed this, and I'm happy that you did, but I think I just couldn't look past some of the problematic aspects in here. So I'm just gonna move on because I enjoyed the other books that I read this month. So on a happier note, I finally finished this book. It was on my TBR since like February, and I finally managed to read it, and I was not disappointed. And it was Lost Roses by Martha Hall Kelly. This is the sequel to Lilac Girls. So Lilac Girls takes place during World War II and follows Caroline and her story, but this time around we follow Caroline's mother Eliza in her experience during World War I. And what I really liked about this is that it follows Eliza and her friend Sophia, who is from the higher class kind of royalty line in Russia, and it kind of follows their experience during the war. In Sophia's case, she's very much dealing with kind of the Russian Revolution and how that basically turned her world upside down. And we also get a third point of view in here as well, similar to Lilac Girls, which is like the villain of this, which is kind of a Russian peasant. And I really love this. I really love Martha Hall Kelly's writing style. It is beautiful. There's something so gripping about it that totally just draws you in, and it's beautiful. I just loved this. I loved the Russian Revolution setting. I remember learning about it at school and I really enjoyed it, but I just don't remember some of the details of it as much as I'm familiar with like World War II. So it was really nice kind like getting to read something new and was refreshing in terms of the historical fiction that I tend to gravitate towards. And I really loved Caroline, or like Caroline's mother. We get to see Caroline when she's like in her like 10, 12. It was really nice to see there. I liked Eliza and Sophia's friendship, and just the courage that Sophia had to overcome all of this. I felt was like really well done. I didn't love this as much as Lilac Girls. I wasn't as attached to the characters this time around, but nevertheless I really enjoyed this. This is a solid historical fiction read, and I think so many of you would enjoy this as well. I don't think you necessarily need to read these books in order. In terms of like reading Lilac Girls, you kind of understand some of their background like before going into this, which may be helpful, but I don't think it's necessary to read these in order. And I was reading the author's note at the end, and she's doing another story that is focusing on Eliza's mother during the Civil War, which I think will be a lot of fun as well. I will say though that Eliza is a true, like was a real person who did have a big kind of role just helping women during World War I. But Sophia and Veronica, which are the two Russian storylines and characters, are fictionalized. So just so you know, it's kind of a fictionalized story based upon a real person, just so you're aware. But nevertheless, love this, gave it a 4 to 5 stars. So my friend and I ended up finishing our book club pick that we've been reading for maybe like a month or so now, and it was Bow of Thieves by Mara E. Pearson. This is the concluding novel in the Dance of Thieves duology, and I read these when they first came out, and so I was a big fan of the Remnant Chronicles. So basically I can't really talk about this because it's a spin-off to the Remnant Chronicles, but it takes place 6 years after the events of the last book, and that's all I'll say about it. But I love this. I read these when they first came out, and this one came out in 2019, I want to say, and I remembered the first one really well. When we reread it, I like remembered it very well, but for this one, for whatever reason, I just didn't remember the plot as much, so it was like rereading it for the first time. And I noticed that there were some stains in here, probably from one of my, because I read this during the summer, so it was probably from one of my ciders, so maybe that's why I don't remember it, because I spilt my drink all over this. But yeah, nevertheless, I still really enjoyed this. I feel like there has to be another spin-off to this spin-off, because you can't leave the book like the way it ended. So yeah, I think this would be, like, I love this just as much as the first time I read this. I gave this one obviously a 5 out of 5 stars, and if you haven't checked out this series or this author, I highly recommend it. You have to read the Remnant Chronicles in order to understand the kind of what's going on in here, because it's essentially one continuing storyline. So but yeah, definitely some of my favorite fantasy storylines definitely are from this author. And this is another book that I've had for a while that I finally picked up, and I was excited that I did. And it was The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. And basically the premise of this story, it follows this psychotherapist who is going to this mental institution, and his goal is to kind of work with one patient. She, 7 years prior, ended up murdering her husband, who was a well-known photographer, and she kind of murdered him out of the blue, and she hasn't spoken since. So this psychotherapist's goal is to get her to talk again, and I really liked this. This is a really well done kind of psychological thriller. It was really well executed. It deserves all the praise that it's gotten. I think it won one of the Goodreads awards for 2019, and I think it's very well deserved. It was a very interesting book that keeps you on the edge of your toes, because you get diary entries from the character who hasn't spoken in a while, and then you kind of get the psychotherapist perspective and like trying to piece everything together and the events leading up to the murder. And I was able to kind of guess what was happening, but even then I was still surprised that like that's what it was, because I was like, that is so absurd. But it was a really good plot twist. It was really well executed, and I think this book was really well done. I did find the kind of middle half of the book to be a little bit slow, but all the information that you're kind of getting is necessary in order to kind of like set up for the big reveal at the end. So I feel like that one was really well done. Like I said, this was a solid, good thriller read, and I felt like I haven't read a thriller in a really long time, so I was really pleased with this one. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. And lastly, I read this mammoth of a book, which was the Downton Abbey, A Celebration. I don't know what happened to the dust jacket for this one. I bought this at a used bookstore, so it didn't come with it. But yeah, it basically talks about the first 6 seasons of Downton Abbey, the characters, the historical significance behind kind of like their practices, like what each room was used for, kind of the protocol that these people had during the day. So it has like really good pictures throughout. If you're a fan of Downton Abbey, I think you will like these, and this made me really nostalgic. I'm like, oh, I was saying to my parents when I was reading this, I'm like, I really want to rewatch the Downton Abbey series and then watch the movie afterwards, because this just got me in a Downton Abbey mood. So probably this summer I feel like we will do this. But if you're a Downton Abbey fan, like, this book is pretty like a good like quality read. It's just over 300 pages, and I liked it. It has a good combination of like writing and pictures and some behind the scenes stuff, which I really enjoyed. So if you're a fan of Downton Abbey, I think you will like this. I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. So that's it, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below what books you read this month were and all of that fun stuff. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.